Today, I'm giving you guys an updated ranking of the Predator franchise. I previously ranked this film not too long ago, and I decided since it's a new film in the series, I would add it to the list and maybe reposition some of the spots that I had previously placed the first time around. So, without further ado, let's get started. In last place, there's no way around it. It's AVP Requiem. This movie is just terrible. The only upside to this film is the Predator himself. The Predator is actually pretty damn cool in this film and kicks a lot of ass. He must kill 15 xenomorphs in this movie. However, apart from that, the movie's incredibly dark. It's hard to see anything. The writing is terrible. The setting is just boring. It's just wooded area USA, and it's just a bad movie all around. The only upside of this over the first film is it does have an R rating, but other than that, you're not missing much with this one. Next is The Predator. This film is just terrible. Written and directed by Shane Black, who actually starred in the original film and maybe even worked on the script. This film shows a new group of, misfit mercenaries as they try to escape the government and stop this new super predator. All along the way, terrible shenanigans happen, awkward humor, bad CGI. And if you enjoyed The Predator, you do get him in this movie for about 30 minutes until he's replaced by the much dumber, much bigger, and much more CGI-filled Super Predator. The plot is all over the place. It apparently had a completely reshot ending where they're going to have multiple Predators fighting the big Predator during the daytime on a tank. I'm not even kidding. And we end up with this, trash. It's not a good film. I do find it somewhat entertaining. Like, I'd rather watch this over AVP. But it's not a good movie. And one that I really can't recommend. A damn shame, too, because this is the last theatrical Predator movie we got. And it's just, awful. Next, we have the original AVP, Alien vs. Predator. This film is a marginal improvement over the sequel and The Predator. It boasts an interesting setting in an underground Antarctic pyramid that was built in ancient times, and it does have some pretty fun action. It is PG-13, which is its biggest flaw, I think, but some of the characters are decent. The main lead is kind of a fun female action star. Nothing like Ripley, but she's fine. All in all, it's basically just forgettable. But if you want to see Lance Henriksen again in the series and some decent Alien and Predator action, you might get something out of this. A fun popcorn flick, but not much else. Up next, we have Predators, the third main film in the series, if you ignore the AVP movies. And the first one to focus on a group of mercenaries yet again in a jungle. This film sees a new group being taken to this alien planet, which pretty much just looks like Earth, and having to survive being hunted by multiple predators. It's essentially the plot of the original film, only with a more alien planet to kind of change things up. But you can tell the director, Nimrod Antal, yes, that's his name, was trying to ape off the success of the original and give us something unique, while also keeping the flavor of that first movie. What we get is an interesting movie that does have some good action. The R rating is back this time, and it's very much appreciated after AVP. And that cast of characters is doing well. You have Adrian Brody, Danny Trejo, hell, even Lawrence Fishburne shows up. But ultimately, the middle act of this movie is kind of a bore. The setup is pretty good, but it does have its slow moments. I like Predators, but admittedly, it is a bit flawed and doesn't quite have the excitement of those first two films, but a decent follow-up to the originals, and one that I think is a little bit underrated. Up next, we have Prey, the most recent film in the franchise. Prey is a damn good film, and one that has some really good action, an interesting protagonist, and it takes place in the, I believe, 1700s, and deals with Native Americans taking on the Predator. This is interesting because their weapons aren't up to the Predators even remotely. But what's interesting is the Predator himself has technology that's not quite as advanced as you see in the original film, showing that even a few hundred years ago, the Predators were extremely advanced, but not as advanced as you see them in later films. This one did surprise me, although I did wish that the main character had a little more agency. I don't want to explain how she's such a magnificent survivalist compared to her brothers, which are proven hunters and badasses. Whereas she wants to be a hunter, but she's clearly not quite up to snuff. When it comes to fighting the Predator, she kind of just kicks ass and takes names. I get what they're saying is she's basically smarter than them and more level-headed, and that'll basically win a fight against the Predator. But on that same token, I feel like they could have handled it a little bit better. Maybe shown her brother train her some to get her skills a little bit better. But ultimately, she is an interesting character. I do like the Native American setting. It's a nice, refreshing take on the Predator franchise, and it's such a damn shame it went directly to Hulu, whereas the Predator got a theatrical release. I think it should have been the other way around. But a good follow-up that deserved a theatrical release, and I hope if we get a sequel, it is released in theaters. Up next, we have Predator 2. This time starring Danny Glover as the lead. He basically plays a cop named Harrigan who has to find out what this Predator is doing in a city. Predator is basically running loose in the far distant future of 1997 in L.A. There's a massive gang war going on that the cops are trying to stop, while also dealing with this Predator threat. It is such an awesome sequel and one that I absolutely adore. I think it is just as good as the original movie in most aspects. And while it's not quite as good as the first one, I adore Predator 2. I think it is so badass. It's so fun. Danny Glover is a great lead. Bill Paxton is awesome as the new rookie cop. And I also love just the humor in the movie. There's literally a scene where a guy gets shot in the arm, takes some cocaine, sniffs the cocaine, and then puts the cocaine into his gunshot wound. It's just such an absurd, awesome 80s action movie. Yes, it came out in 1990, but it is an 80s action movie through and through. It is so fun, so enjoyable. And if you haven't seen Predator 2, I highly recommend it. You have to give this movie a shot. It is the absolute best of the Predator sequels. But coming in at number 1 is 1987's Predator. This film was amazing, showing a group of mercenaries going into a jungle to try to rescue some hostages, and along the way running into an alien from another planet who takes them out one by one. This film is so amazing because it starts off as an 80s action film and basically turns into a horror film. It slowly goes from 80s macho badassery to survival, which is such a great concept. You have this group of mercenaries that encompass everything that is 80s badassery, slowly getting wiped out. So this is the elite of the elite that turn into prey. And that is such a cool concept, because if these guys get wiped out, you know this is a badass enemy they're facing. It quickly turns into a game of survival between Schwarzenegger, his men, and the Predator. One by one they're taken out, and it's unclear if any of them will survive the encounter. Just a great film, starring the late, great Carl Weathers, may he rest in peace, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jesse the Body Ventura, and many others. This is just a great movie that I highly recommend. If you haven't seen the original Predator, get on it. You will have an amazing time. It is great. Well, that's my updated ranking. I always have loved this series, and even the worst ones, even AVP 2, which is just terrible, I can still get a kick out of, and the Predator is just such a fun alien. All in all, I do recommend this series, and the only ones I'd say avoid is probably AVP 2 and the Predator, but the rest all have something to offer, even the original AVP. I thank y'all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave your list down below if you'd like, and peace out.